So think about this. City manager John Mauro is the boss of the police, right? He's in charge of the police chief. He's the one who makes the call as to who gets safety, who gets constitutional rights and such. So if city manager John Mauro breaks the law, then who's going to prosecute him? Well, James Kennedy's corrupt, so he's not going to prosecute him, right? But first of all, how do you get a criminal complaint to go through about the city manager? I haven't been able to get the city of Port Townsend to take criminal complaints against tons of stuff I've sent him over 5 years. Actual crimes, real victims, lots of proof, because they play politics. So it's obvious, it's 100% fact, that city manager John Mauro has committed a felony in violation of the Public Records Act, deliberately and knowingly. He did so denying Julie Jamon records and talking about it in emails. He flat out stated that with Jim Scarantino, he wasn't going to answer it. Some people might say, well, that didn't go through the regular portal. Well, it is a public record if you ask the city verbally, if you email them, if you send them a letter. It's a public records request. So for Mauro to flat out say, I'm not answering it and I suggest you don't too, in an email to the YMCA, that's a felony. So when I file a criminal complaint with the Port Townsend police, what are they going to do? What they're supposed to do is say, well, I have a conflict of interest here, and have another county take care of it, right? Maybe even the county sheriff, which will, the Jefferson County would be the same hive mind. It should be referred out of the county. But what will they do? We'll see at some point here. Because at some point, I do intend to file criminal charges against city manager John Mauro for violations of the Public Record Act, which is a Class C felony. I've showed you guys that law here before. And so that's just one. So the Jim Scarantino and the Julie is just, it's two that he's violated it. But with Jim's, he flat out stated, I'm not going to answer. So a deliberate, intentional, willful violation of the Public Records Act, which is a felony. Now, then there's me. So there's Universal Church of Light, Reverend Crystal Cox. John Mauro ordered, I believe, Debbie Ritter, that was the public records officer, not to fill records for me. I think there was some trouble there. And Heidi did John's bidding for him, I think. And then John Mauro, who's the boss of the city attorney, said, don't fill records for Crystal Cox, or her so-called victims advocacy. First, it was give her 90 minutes a week, then didn't do that. Then John Mauro tells Haley that the public records officer don't fill records for Crystal Cox. Okay, so Haley then perjures herself, right, in court documents and says, oh, well, we was too busy to fill records. The city attorney left and we were so busy and we had so many requests coming in and there was this and that and I was doing the clerk's job. First, Ordinance 3293, she's a designated public records officer. She shouldn't be doing the clerk job. Okay. Secondly, she also perjured herself in the document, said she'd been in communication with me and been in communication outside of the next request, the site that the city has. Absolute lie. I never, what did they see me in the grocery store? And then claims that, okay, she's too busy for me, but still in the newspaper answering for other people. Why in the world would Haley, she seems to be a nice gal and like newly married in the last year or two. And why would she risk her life, her property, prison, for felony perjury to listen to Mauro? What does he have on her? Is it just a job she's protecting? And I don't get it. Why would you lie about that and try to hurt a member of the public? Okay, so fine, you don't like me, but you're violating the Public Records Act, which is a felony, and doing so deliberately and knowingly. Why is Haley covering for Mauro, right? She makes $20,000 to $30,000 a year. He makes 10 times as her. He makes around $200,000 a year, okay? So John Mauro ordering Haley to not fulfill Public Records Acts for me. So I'm saying one party, but first I've named two others, but that was in 2022. But now we're in 2024, and there's 67 outstanding for me for a year and a half through my church. And the city deliberately didn't answer them. In March of 2024, they made me a global offer with all of them. So they knew that they were outstanding. And they still acted in bad faith. They didn't answer any of them. They didn't communicate with me until they were sued in June. And now they're starting to fulfill records because they were sued. But they still, that doesn't get them out of the fines and the penalties and the bad faith. They think it does, but it doesn't. I've read tons of case law on it, been in other cases where others have done that, and they're not going to get out of it. So the fact that the city keeps stalling and wasting more taxpayer money, and the city attorney being such a bully, right? And being rude to my attorney, being, rude with me, saying things like, well, you can't publish it online, and you can't, if we settle on this one, you can't ever sue again, ever, like the rest of your life, and then global settlements, and then to just ignore it for months. So it is a crime for Mauro to direct the city attorney and them to oblige, and to direct the public records officer, and for the public records officer to oblige, to deliberately violate the Public Records Act knowingly and willfully, and then perjure yourself and lie about it and say, we did it because we was busy. But the record shows there's hundreds of other people, thousands of other documents you released over 2024 to everyone else. You were only too busy for one requester. How can you say, oh, we acted in good faith? And that's what the city attorney keeps doing. Like if they keep lying in court documents, that somehow the lie will become the truth. Well, it's perjury. Okay. And what they're pushing Haley to do is sad, because she seems nice. She's got a nice little life going. Why would you risk your life? Why would you risk jail and prison and a felony record to knowingly violate the Public Records Act? Well, I don't really know why she's doing it, but if Mauro's the boss of her and boss of the police, how do you get him on criminal charges? Well, I don't know, but we're going to find out. It's going to be entered into the lawsuit. I'm going to send a complaint to the police. I'm going to send a complaint to the attorney general and all the places I can. Mauro deliberately discriminating against one requester, or requesters that he chooses that he likes based on his conflict of ideology or conflict of interest, or who he doesn't like, or to protect city council or whoever he's trying to protect, or his schemes or whatever he's trying to do by, denying any public records to Reverend Crystal Cox or my church, denying any communication, and directing his staff to not answer to one requester is a felony. Okay, so I don't know how it's going to play out, but I don't understand why city staff is willing to perjure themselves to stand up for Mauro. He makes $200,000 a year and he's lying. He's in the wrong morally, ethically, and legally. But you guys are still sticking up for him. Okay, I'm not going to back down. Mauro has committed a felony and it's not going away.